Hello, dear children. Namaste, and welcome to session 3 of our class 10 CBSE Biology chapter How Do Organisms Reproduce? And my name is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this platform of Vedantu. Okay, so let's get started. What do you think I have in store for you first? Of course, all my regular children know. Yes, I wouldn't want to start any session without a positive quote. So here is my quote for you. Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. Well, I think that's beautifully said, although it's something very, very simple. Let's not think that we are incapable of taking up new challenges. Rather, it's very important that each of us must step out of our comfort zone and try out new challenges. Otherwise, you never know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Perhaps you're going to be discovering plenty of new things about yourself, but staying without limiting your challenges is very, very important for that. Okay. Moving ahead, here is our homework question from the last session. List the conditions required for germination of seedling. Remember, we spoke about how sexual reproduction in flowering plants or angiosperms happens. And this was the homework question I gave you. So there are a few external as well as internal factors that are important for controlling seed germination. External factors are, of course, water, temperature, aeration, which means there has to be sufficient ventilation and aeration. Of course, oxygen has to be there, and light or darkness accordingly. Okay. Of course, with every species, the extent whether a particular condition is required in low quantities or in a huge amount is different. It varies from species to species. That's it. But then, in general, these are what would determine whether seed germination occurs optimally or not. And internally, as far as internal factors within the plant, within the seed are concerned, seed vitality is important, genotype is important, which means the genetic makeup which is there for all the characters in the seedling, seed maturation, seed dormancy. All of these are very, very important in determining seed germination. Okay, how well it's going to happen and whether seeds will germinate or not at all in the first place. So let's look at who has given me the answers first. Yes, we have Avneek Gupta, who says temperature, water, oxygen, air, and light. Thank you, Avneek. I can see that you have also commented that it was a lovely session. Thank you very much. And then we have Insha Khan, who says the most important external factors include the right temperature, water, oxygen or air, and sometimes light or darkness. Okay, so thank you very much, Avneek and Insha. And today, let us try and understand the human reproductive system. Yes, this is perhaps one concept that many of you think is very, very difficult, but actually it's not. I would say this is pretty much even easier as compared to angiosperms, probably, because you can perhaps more relate to this better because we are talking about what happens in our own bodies, human beings, right? So let's try and understand the structure of the human male reproductive system and the structure of the human female reproductive system in today's session. But before that, it's important to understand a few fundamentals of reproduction in humans, right? So let's jump into it. Human beings, as we know, reproduce sexually. We have separate male individuals and we have female individuals whose gametes fuse together in fertilization to form a new individual, right? This is what happens in every sexually reproducing organism. Even in the case of flowering plants, we have seen a male gamete and a female gamete are involved. Likewise, of course, in human beings, just like any other higher animal, this same thing happens. Okay, but what is it? What are the male gametes and the female gametes? Of course, male germ cells form what we call the sperm, and female germ cells form what we call the ovum or the egg. Ovum is singular and ova is plural. Okay, so let's try now, children. One more thing, these two symbols are very important for you to know. This is in general, not just in biology, but in general. This is the symbol that is used for male, and this is the symbol we use for female. Okay, like for general knowledge, it's important to know this. Now, what happens? How does fertilization happen? Of course, fertilization in humans happens internally, which means inside the female body, the sperm and egg fuse with each other. But how does it happen? All of that, the details about all that, we will be understanding partially today and partially in the upcoming session. Okay, but for now, just understand process of fertilization is internal in human beings, unlike certain animals, certain lower chordates, probably like fishes, amphibians, and all of that, wherein in some of them fertilization happens externally, like the eggs are laid by the female, sperms are released by the male, and they both fuse together, and fertilization happens outside the adults' bodies, which usually happens inside water. Okay, in humans, fertilization is internal, inside the body. Okay. Now, changes when humans come to reproductive age. Of course, when we say changes, we don't just limit our understanding to bodily changes or physical appearance. A lot of other changes happen inside a mature human being, or rather, when a human being attains puberty. The term we use is puberty, which normally in the case of a human female is roughly between the ages of 10 to 13 or 11 to 13 on an average, and in males it's normally anywhere between 13 to 15. Okay, can be plus or minus one here and there for each individual, but then roughly on an average, this is where sexual maturity happens in humans. We call this puberty. So a lot of changes happen, physical changes happen, then of course hormonal changes happen, emotional changes also very, very importantly happens, right? Because you are pretty much in the transition between being a child and becoming an adult. So somewhere in the transition period, a lot of changes, so much of quick physical growth, so much of so many quick changes in your emotions, so many quick changes in your preferences and interests also happens around this age. These are the most common changes seen in both the genders. In boys, we normally see physically broad shoulders suddenly become broader or wider, chest become wider, muscles suddenly start developing a lot, growth of facial hair and other body hair also, acne and pimples on face, development of sex organs, of course, very importantly, development of hair in the pubic regions also happens. Whereas in the case of females, the region below the waist becomes a little wider and rounder, development of mammary glands, which we call breasts externally, occurs, acne and pimples on the face as is seen in the case of males, development of sex organs also pretty much similar, although the organs in males and females are different. This is a very important change in both of them. High-pitched voice, right? So I think when we say high-pitched voice in females, it's important to say that in males, voice deepens also. And that is why, because your vocal cords in males develop around the age of puberty, you see what we call the Adam's apple in the case of males, right? Whereas in the case of females, externally it's not visible, but voice quality may change slightly. Okay, then development of pubic hair is also observed in the females, just as in the case of males. Okay, these are some of the changes we see in both the genders. Now coming to human male reproductive system. Yes, human male reproductive system, talking about the structure, overall we can divide the structure of the male reproductive system into two parts based on function. One part, the first part, which produces germ cells, produces the gametes. The second part is rather the tubular part, which is equally important, which transports the sperm or the gametes which are produced out of the body. Okay, so why is this important? Isn't it more important to produce the gametes? Definitely, step one has to be production of gametes in a male. But then it's important to understand that unless the male gametes are transported out of the male's body, it cannot carry out fertilization. It has to move out of a male's body. It has to enter into a female reproductive tract to be able to carry out fertilization, right? This is why step 2 is also equally important. Transports the sperm out of the body. Tubular structures are there to carry out this function. So let's look at them more in detail. Yes, testis is the primary sex organ in a human male. Now, testis, children, remember the spelling T-E-S-T-I-S is singular. T-E-S-T-E-S is plural. Okay, so we say a pair of testes, okay, or one testis. Okay, remember that. Testes are located in a structure, a bag-like structure, a bag-like pouch, which is called the scrotum, which is a pouch that hangs from the rest of the abdominal cavity, away from the rest of the abdominal cavity. Why is it important that the testes grow away from the rest of the human body, away from the rest of the organs which are there in the male abdominal cavity? This is because the gametes, which are the sperms produced by the testes, can undergo full maturation at a certain temperature. And that optimal temperature at which gametes or sperms can mature is actually 2 to 3 degrees Celsius lower than the normal body temperature, which is roughly around 37.5 degrees Celsius, right? So temperature within the scrotum is lower by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius than the rest of the human male body. This is why, as a smart solution, nature has designed the male reproductive system in this manner that testes, the pair of testes, are present inside the scrotum so that they are at an optimal temperature at which sperms can mature. Okay, yes. Now, testes produce germ cells. We've seen that. We call the mature gametes as sperm. Okay, so sperm, in fact, children, do we say sperm or sperms? Sperm is usually singular and sperms is used as plural, but I think in many articles and many very good international books also, I have read that I have read the usage of sperm to be used as a collective plural word also, which means for plural, for more than one also, we use the word sperm. Okay, that's also not wrong. So anyway, that's just there for your information, not that it'll affect your marks or anything. Now, testis also produces a hormone, the male sex hormone, which we call testosterone. What is it important for? Of course, testosterone is important in regulating the formation of sperm, which we call spermatogenesis. Okay, and it's also responsible for the secondary sexual characters in males. The characters which we have listed at the start of the session, that is what we call secondary sexual characters. In males, that is regulated. Those are regulated by this hormone which we call testosterone. Okay, the male sex hormones in general are called androgens. Do remember that. Okay, testosterone is the major male sex hormone, okay, which is why we are focusing mainly on that term. Now, coming to the structure, deeper into the structure of a testis. Now, testis, you know, is where sperm production happens. As you can see, it's made up of numerous minute tubules, which we call seminiferous tubules. Yes, that is actually the place where development of male gametes occurs. Formation of sperm occurs in seminiferous tubules. Okay, there are numerous such tiny tubules which eventually join together and open into a structure which we call epididymis or epididymis. Okay, we call it epididymis. I like to say it epididymis for the simple reason that this spelling, I don't want to go wrong with that spelling. Okay, but then I think commonly people prefer to say epididymis. I leave it completely to you. Epididymis. And why is it transported to the epididymis? In fact, it's in the epididymis where the sperm completes its maturation and gets temporarily stored there until it is ready for release outside the male body during ejaculation. So what happens next? Epididymis actually continues into the next tubular part, the main tubular part, which is part 2 of the male reproductive system I told you at the start, which we call ductus deferens, or in common language it's called vas deferens. Okay, and the sperm continues further through the vas deferens. Okay, now what happens? Let's look at the journey of the sperm. Through the vas deferens, it keeps moving, as you can see. Yes, from the testis to the epididymis, and from the epididymis into the vas deferens, it's actually moving further and further. Now, as it moves through the vas deferens, yes, this is the tube, which is the vas deferens. As the sperm cells are moving through it along the vas deferens, it actually receives the secretions of certain glands, which we call accessory male reproductive organs or accessory male reproductive glands, okay, which are most commonly the prostate glands and the seminal vesicles. Two major accessory male reproductive structures, which also add in certain secretions into this tube. Why is it important? Now, sperm is just a group of cells. Sperm is one single cell and many sperm are released at a time. Okay. Now, these sperm cells, as they are coming through the vas deferens, they need more fluidity and they need a little more lubrication to be transported outside the male body. And also, if at all it enters into the female reproductive tract, it should be able to reach up to the level of the ovum to carry out fertilization. So to make this transport, overall transport of sperm easier, it needs some lubrication, and this lubrication is what is provided by the secretions of seminal vesicle and the prostate gland. Okay, so the secretions added by the prostate added by the prostate glands and the seminal vesicle together with the sperm forms what we call semen. Okay, the fluidy structure is what we call semen. Okay, so it's not exactly synonymous, the sperm and semen. Semen plus the secretions from these accessory glands is what we call, sperm plus the secretions from the accessory glands is what we call semen. Right, children? And then what does it do? The fluids also provide a little bit of nourishment and nutrition to the sperm. Okay, so basically help in activating it and lubricating it so that it can be transported faster. Then what happens? The vas deferens, once it crosses the pathway, like on the way through the vas deferens, it collects secretions from the accessory glands, and then, as you can see, it also joins along with the urethra, which is coming from the urinary bladder. Okay, so the urethra and the vas deferens join together and enter into the male copulatory organ, which is called the penis. Okay, it's the male copulatory organ. And finally, the urethra and the vas deferens together form a common duct. So basically, it's a common opening. Urethra ends up being a common opening, common tube or a duct for both sperm and urine in the case of a human male. Okay, and penis is what is the copulatory organ. Okay, all right. So I think that pretty much explains the structure of the male reproductive system. Once again, the main structures, let's just name them: a pair of testes, and then we have the epididymis, in which the sperms undergo maturation, and from there the sperms get released through the vas deferens or the ductus deferens. Okay, goes on further, and on its way it collects secretions from the seminal vesicle and the prostate gland and comes down further, and on the way it also joins with the urinary bladder's tube, the duct called urethra. Vas deferens joins into it, and together they enter into the penis, which we now call it the urethra, which acts as the common passage for both sperm and urine in the case of a human male. And also remember that testes are present inside a pouch-like structure called the scrotum. Scrotum is important to know because I have seen in the last, at least for the last 15, 20 years probably, this concept of scrotum is considered to be one of the exam favorites. Okay, so if you know this, you are increasing your chances of being able to score that 1 or 2 marks definitely. Okay, so you must know why it is there. Now coming to the sperm itself. This is the sperm, one single sperm. It's a microscopic structure, of course. It's one single cell, but then we can divide it into a head region actually a middle piece here and a tail region. Okay, the head region actually, just like any other cell, contains the nucleus, and because of that, it contains the genetic material which we call DNA. Okay, the lower region, as you can see, has a long tail. What does it do? It helps in movement of sperm towards the ovum. Unlike the ovum, the sperm is a very, very motile cell. It has to be very, very active, which means it needs a lot of energy and it needs to be provided with the machinery to be able to move also. So the energy needs are actually met. This is just there for extra information. The energy needs of a sperm are met by having a lot of mitochondria. What are mitochondria? We call them the powerhouse of the cell, right? Because they carry out cellular respiration, aerobic respiration, and generate what we call ATP. And ATP is the energy currency of a cell. When there is a lot of it, it ensures that the sperm is always energetic, and the whip-like tail or the tail-like structure here enables the sperm to move forward or propel forward. Okay, and before we move on to the quiz, children, and of course, the quiz will be followed by the female reproductive system structure also, I have to tell you a few very, very important things. Yes. Many of our children have been coming up with a list of issues that they have been facing. Perhaps you are also one of them, saying that you have unanswered doubts, a lot of, silly doubts, maybe silly doubts. You may have a lot of complex doubts, but whatever it is, you have a lot of unanswered doubts. You may not have access to proper notes because you're not going to a physical school now. You are basically everything is happening online for most of us. So no proper notes, tests and assignments, even more of a problem, not being able to systematically conduct it. Competitive exam preparation, again challenging. KVP via science olympiads, your NTSE, maybe NEET aspirants, it's NEET, JEE, all of that competitive exam preparation. Choice of schedule, choice of language. All of these are among the most common problems that many of you have been facing. But then do remember, children, these are not problems anymore. As long as you guys are with us, we are always here to support you at Vedantu. Our intention is mainly to ensure that every child finds studies very, very simple and very, very enjoyable. Okay. Well, honestly, personally, also for me, I don't believe that education is all about mugging up. It's nothing to do with just memorizing from the textbook and going and spilling it out on your answer papers. No. Unfortunately, many of us tend to do that. Holistic learning approaches are very, very important. And here we take care of this a lot, which is why we have a lot of added bonuses also for you. Unlimited live classes. We have a lot of micro courses and crash courses. So basically, crash courses, most of you would know what they are, but micro courses also additionally. Why is it there? Because you may be the kind of student who needs a little bit of extra help only with certain concepts, or maybe certain chapters within a subject. What do you do for that? You don't have to spend thousands or lakhs enrolling for one entire course just to brush up on or just to get extra bits of information on the subject you need to strengthen, or the topics you need to strengthen. That is why we have designed what we call the micro courses. Okay, so chapter wise or concept wise courses specifically designed for your comfort. Okay, children? Then, of course, performance reports. Without that, how can any system of education be complete? Personalized attention, of course. We have a master teacher and class teachers who together work with you in all the batches to ensure that your progress is completely monitored. Right, children? So what do you do? To know more about this, just visit vdnt.in/YTPRO. So let me quickly guide you through it just in case you're unclear about what it could be like. You get to choose your grade first. So perhaps grade 10, choose that, and then choose your target. So for you guys, I'm assuming it's going to be CBSE 2021. Okay. Now comes the details. Check out all the details. I think I've told you most of the bonuses, but apart from that, what is included in Vedantu Pro, all the features, the major features have been listed out here. Then what do you do? Click on the button, get subscription. Next, what? Pricing, right? So let me tell you the details of those also, children, so that you do not have any bit of doubt about that. So we have three major plans of pro subscription here for you: the 1 month plan, 3 months plan, and the 6 months plan. So a 1 month of pro subscription would normally cost you rupees 2,699. But application of the coupon code AMBPRO will reduce it to 2,294.15. Now, children, think about it. I'm telling you 1 month of subscription. What does that even mean? For that 1 full month, you get unlimited access to all the features that I have told you. Unlimited live interactions, test series and analysis, assignments and notes. Unlimited access to all of these for 1 full month. So what do you have to do to understand whether this is reasonably priced or whether it's on the expensive side? It's up to you to calculate that, because I have given you the details. I have given you the discount coupon also. So now what you have to do is just divide the total amount payable by the number of sessions that you will be able to avail through this. And you will find out for yourself that per session, the cost that's coming up to is very, very, very reasonably priced for you. Okay, children, this is for 1 month. For 3 months, if you want to be tension-free for 3 months, go ahead for a 3 months of subscription. Normally, the amount payable would be 6,999, whereas application of the same coupon code AMBPRO is going to reduce it to 5,949.15. Coupon code is very important so that you don't unnecessarily end up paying the full price, right? When the offer is running, that is when we give you these details. So definitely you must make use of it. And then comes the 6 months of subscription, wherein for 6 full months, basically I would think for the rest of your academic year now, because it's the month of September now, for the rest of your academic year, you will be tension free if you avail this. So the amount payable is 11,499, but apply the coupon code AMBPRO and you get it reduced to 9,774.15 for 6 full months. Okay, so go ahead and think about it, children. You have nothing to lose. vdnt.in/ytpro. Okay, so make use of it and get the best out of what we have to offer you. Okay, so let's move ahead and come to the quiz time of the male reproductive system. Yes, the hormones which provide secondary sexual characters in males is or are ADH, oxytocin, somatostatin, testosterone. Super easy, and your time is up. The answer is testosterone. Of course, secondary sexual characters in males are controlled by testosterone produced by, yes, your testes. Now, the head region of sperm carries dash. Do you remember this? It was perhaps the last thing I told you before starting to talk about the causes. Oval mitochondria, DNA, spiral mitochondria, none of these. Yes, the DNA. Okay, mitochondria, where are they found? They are found in the middle region of the sperm cell. Okay, DNA or the nucleic acids are most importantly concentrated at the head region of the sperm. Now, the primary sex organ in male is dash. Testis, penis, urinary bladder, prostate gland. And your time is up. The answer is testis, primary sex organ. Okay, copulatory organ is what is penis. So, there we go. Good job if you have answered all of these 3 correctly. Rest of you, not to worry. We are getting started with the human female reproductive system. And at the end of that, we are going to be having another quiz. Okay, guys? So stay with me and let's get to understand this. In the female reproductive system, the primary sex organ is what we call a pair of ovaries. This is one ovary, this is the other ovary. So ovaries in females are analogous to testes in males. Okay, the sex organ, the primary sex organ in male and female respectively, ovaries in this case. So what do? Just as the testis produces the gametes and hormones there, even here ovaries produce gametes and sex hormones. It produces the female germ cell, which develops into what we call the egg cell or the ovum or ova in plural. Okay, look at the structure now, children. This is a pair of ovaries, and ovaries open into, we always, whenever we have to explain the female reproductive system, we have to start with a pair of ovaries. Okay, part 1 is a pair of ovaries, and then they open into a couple of tubes, what we call the fallopian tubes. Okay, part 2 is the fallopian tube on either side. We also call it the oviducts, a pair of oviducts. Okay, that opens into the pear-shaped organ or the sac-like structure which we call the uterus, or in common language it's also called the womb. Okay, the uterus opens to the exterior through a tiny structure which is called the cervix. Okay, cervix is the opening of the uterus which opens, which dilates, and which relaxes and contracts according to needs of the situation. You will understand more about it as we discuss more about the female reproductive system. And this, where does the cervix open? It opens into a passage which is called the vagina. And vagina is actually the structure which receives the penis during sexual intercourse, okay, during copulation. So this is about the parts of the female reproductive system, a pair of ovaries which open into the fallopian tubes or the oviducts. Both of them open into the uterus, and that has an opening called the cervix, which opens into the vagina, that opens to the exterior. Right. Now, I told you the ovaries produces hormones along with producing the ovum or the eggs. The hormones are chiefly estrogen and progesterone. Right, children? So you may see some textbooks which write the spelling of estrogen as estrogen. But I think NCERT writes it like this, OESTRO, doesn't matter. OES is the British spelling and ESTRO is the American spelling. So both of them are equally correct. It's up to you to decide what is comfortable for you to remember. Now, yes, let's look at one single ovary. Remember, children, this part, this ovary, let's just zoom into that part and try and understand this. Inside one ovary, when a baby girl is born, inside her ovary, there are thousands of immature eggs already present. When she attains puberty, some of these eggs start maturing. As you can see, these are the stages which are seen in the development of an ovum in a female ovary. Okay, inside structures that we call ovarian follicles, right? And then the ovaries produce one egg per month. I told you there is a pair of ovaries, right? So either this ovary or this ovary, only one of them produces an egg cell, an ovum, a mature ovum every month. This is very different from what happens in males, right? Because I told you sperms together, many sperms, millions of them in fact, are released in one ejaculation. Whereas in a female, it's completely different. Every month, only one ovum is produced, and that too, it's only one of the ovaries which produces it alternately every month. Okay? Okay, children, so the ovaries produce one egg per month. Now, this one egg can have two fates, one of two alternate fates. One is that it can get fertilized. Okay? If copulation has occurred or sexual intercourse has occurred, fertilization is possible of that particular egg. Secondly, it doesn't get fertilized. Okay, no fertilization is the second pathway. Okay, two of them are completely different. Fertilization, of course, would lead to pregnancy, but if it doesn't get fertilized, what would happen? Both of these I will be explaining to you in the upcoming session. Stay with me. But then, before we end today's session, let's quickly answer a couple of questions, or 3 questions related to the female reproductive system. Ready, guys? Yes. Ovaries produce dash: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, A and B. What do you think? Yes, and the answer is A and B, estrogen and progesterone. In fact, estrogen is the hormone that is responsible for the female secondary sexual characters in females, all the characters we listed at the start. Progesterone plays more of a role at the time of pregnancy, okay? But it's always there. Now, fertilization takes place in dash: oviduct, uterus, vagina, fimbriae. Okay, and your time is up. The answer is oviduct. Now remember, children, I told you this is the female reproductive tract, roughly like this, right? We have a pair of oviducts. These finger-like projections which you see on either side like this is what we call fimbriae, these structures here, okay? Fimbriae. And They are actually responsible for receiving the ovum that the ovary is producing every month. Through the fimbriae, with the help of the fimbriae or the finger-like projections, the ovum enters into the fallopian tube. And it is inside the oviduct or the fallopian tube that fertilization occurs. Meeting of the ovum and the sperm occurs in the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Right? Now, next. The hollow pear-shaped organ where embryo develops. Most certainly you would know this. Yes, and your time is up. The answer is uterus, which is commonly called the womb, the bag-like structure, the highly muscular sac-like structure within which embryonic development or fetal development happens in a female human's body. Yes, and that brings us to the end of this quiz as well. Great job, children, if you have got all of these correctly. I think this was very simple, right? I did not want to overburden you by explaining about the stages of pregnancy and about the rest of the female reproductive cycle today, because it's important to understand that with a fresh mind, okay? Because it's important from an exam perspective also. So nothing to worry about. We will make it easy to understand for you in the upcoming session. But before we end it, let me remind you that today you have learned about the human male reproductive system and about the human female reproductive system. Before you join me in the next session, I would strongly suggest you must be very, very thorough with both of these so that you will be able to fully understand what we explain in the upcoming session. And here is a homework question for you today. Why are testes present away from the rest of the body in human males? Right, children? So there we go. Give me the answer to this either through email or comment section. I would strongly suggest comment section below this video so that I don't miss out on any of your precious answers, because you will be spending whatever it takes, 1 minute, 2 minutes or whatever. So in the comment section, most certainly we will not miss it. Okay, so there we go. Let me also remind you to visit vdnt.in/ytpro and apply the coupon code AMBPRO so that you can get the best benefits of all the courses that we have out there for you. Thank you very much, children. If you have enjoyed the session, please do remember to hit the like button right now. If not, I'm not gonna know how it's been for you, right? And please share it with all your friends, whoever ICSE 10, CBSE 10 or NEET aspirants or whoever you think will benefit from this, because everything starts with basics. And this, I think, is one very, very basic concept in biology that all of you responsible science students or responsible youth of India should certainly know. Okay, and do subscribe to the channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English in case you haven't done that, because every single day we will keep coming up with more and more pieces of content just for you, right? And in the meantime, you can also reach out to me through email. And until we meet again, this is Ambika signing off. Take care, stay happy, stay safe. Bye-bye.